49ers preseason in the books. Whose stock is rising? Whose stock is falling? Guys that help themselves to make 53-man roster on today's Locked On 49ers.
You are Locked On 49ers, your daily San Francisco 49ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On 49ers. Brian Peacock and Eric Crocker at BD Peacock at Coach Crocky. Thanks, everybody, for making us your first listen on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Love our everydayers, our core audience. We appreciate you guys. Make sure you're all subscribed up on YouTube and anywhere you listen to this podcast. Welcome to all the new listeners as well. We're going to be taking through the 49ers every single day, 5 days a week with me and Croc, and the brand new 49ers squad shows that are also here on the Locked On 49ers channel. A 4-time Super Bowl champion, Dwayne Board, in the first inaugural episode. Fun talking with Dwayne Board and Eric as we had our first squads episode following that preseason game. We're going to do 2 squad shows per week. Croc and I will be involved at different times in that squad episode. So you're still going to get a lot of Peacock and a lot of Croc and a lot of Peacock here on Locked On 49ers every single week, every single day. Squad's going to be coming at you post-game. We're going to do the Rapid React with me and Croc first, then do a 49ers squad post-games, and then have another squad show throughout the week at some point, probably midweek, Wednesday-ish is what we're targeting right now. So stay tuned for all of that here on Locked On 49ers. A lot of big things happening. And today's episode, let's focus on who hurt themselves the most probably in these preseason games. I got a lot of names here, stock up and stock down. I want to start with the positive side of things, Croc. And I think maybe the biggest thing I saw in the final preseason game, some of my stock up involves all 3 preseason games, but just in preseason week number 3, Croc, I think the biggest deal for me was 4 days ago. I think we talked about, like, I don't even know who's going to start at defensive tackle. Do the 49ers have a starting defensive tackle on the stinking roster, right? And Jordan Elliott's been kind of hurt throughout the preseason. He showed up. He looked like, okay, well, there's a starting guy at least, it looked like. And he played that way. So huge stock up for Jordan Elliott. And you feel pretty good about Jordan Elliott being one of those starters week 1 at defensive tackle. I don't know who defensive tackle number 2 is going to be. CJ West was a stock up player early in the preseason. He was banged up, didn't play in the last 2 preseason games. I think there's a good chance he's the guy that's next to Jordan Elliott to start the season, Croc. I think we're not really getting to the stocks downside of things, but just talking about the 49ers defensive line and the defensive tackles in particular, Alfred Collins does not look ready. He is a name on my stock down list, but also on the stock up side is Sebastian Valdez. It's not Valdez, it's Valdez, apparently. And he was an undrafted free agent. He's looked awesome. He's looked better than the 49ers second-round pick. He is powerful. He is down in and down out playing really good football for the 49ers in this preseason game, pushing offensive linemen back, just power, has some athletic ability and a little bit of juice and a little bit of explosion coming out of his stance, which is huge. So Jordan Elliott, Sebastian Valdez, defensive tackle. I don't think Valdez is going to be starting in week 1 necessarily, but I think that guy has to have earned a roster spot for the San Francisco 49ers. So huge stock up, undrafted free agents to make their rookie roster is big time. And I think Sebastian Valdez did that. Jordan Elliott looked like a starting defensive tackle. Is probably the first time we could say that all preseason long for any 49ers player.
Well, one thing that works well for Sebastian Valdez is being healthy, right? Like just being able to be out there. That's a big thing. You mentioned CJ West. He's a guy that went down, had an injury. Michael Williams, another guy, 49ers going to be counting on him, had an injury. So there's been guys banged up. Excuse me, not Alfred Collins, but why am I blanking on the other defensive tackle right now?
CJ West.
Jordan Elliott, excuse me, Jordan Elliott, right?
Yeah.
Like Jordan Elliott, guy, kind of, okay, finally I get to get into some of the action here. So Kevin Givens, another guy, banged up. So the 49ers, that's a big thing that's working for Valdez is the fact that, I'm able to be out there and I'm able to play. So when you talk about potential starters week 1 for the San Francisco 49ers, I think you have to throw his name in the ring, especially, and we'll know by the time this show will air tomorrow. as an audio version. Probably shortly after that, we'll know who made the 49ers 53-man roster. But I think he's made a strong case. And if not for anything else, because he's very healthy and he's available. Aside from that, Alfred Collins, man, you talked about his stock being down right now. I've talked about just maybe not being ready as a pass rush guy, but just at the very least, when you show up as a rookie, you who they drafted you to be right now, which was, hey man, you're a good run stopper. You're gonna plug. You're gonna be able to two gap, do those things that they'll need to be able to have the 49ers more stout up front. And right now, it's just he's trying to figure it out, and that's not something I was quite expecting. Not to this extent, to where maybe somebody else like Sebastian Valdez can come in and look like he has a better grasp on what it is the 49ers are asking him to do.
Yeah, I mean, Valdez, if you said, okay, look, you don't know where any of these guys was drafted. Let's watch them all play. You tell me who was drafted where. I would think that Valdez was drafted ahead of Collins the way they've played. With Collins, he's looked big. He's looked, big is great, but he's looked sluggish, consistently slow out of his stance. One of the last guys off the line of scrimmage. Hasn't looked good moving around in space. Have seen the frog splash a couple times though, which I loved. I talked about in his draft evaluation, the frog splash, where he's got this finishing just jump because he's so big and it can create, he can close some space at the very end of a play. But I've been disappointed in Collins' ability to stay low, to fire out of his stance. And Sebastian Valdez has done exactly that and looked really good doing it. And CJ West early looked really good in camp for the 49ers. Didn't get much of a chance to play. Who that second starting defensive tackle is, I'm not sure. Joe says in the chat that it's Elliott and Kalia Davis. And I can see that as well. Kalia Davis has been okay. And maybe he's the veteran player. He's been around a little bit. Still hasn't played a lot. He was hurt his first year with the 49ers. Been banged up a couple times since then. Hasn't gotten a lot of playing time. So I don't know if the veteran status for him helps that much to hold off one of those rookies. My guess is it's Elliott and CJ West, but CJ West has to be healthy and ready to go in week one. And then you'll probably see CJ West trot off the field and see someone like Michael Williams move inside on those third downs. But yeah, Davis in the mix. I think Collins is still in the mix. Sebastian Valdez, though, I think the biggest winner, because we already knew Elliott was going to make the team as like the only veteran because Givens is hurt. The question with Givens now, Croc, is does he go on IR and end his entire season? Or do the 49ers keep him on the 53 and use up one of those spots and then put him on IR with the hopes that he can return? And according to Kyle Shanahan, Jacob Cowing, 6 weeks on his latest injury. So he's another guy that is going to be either IR before or after the final cut down there for Jacob Cowing. So, I mean, you probably got to go stock down on Jacob Cowing as well. But if we're talking defensive tackles, big time stock up for Jordan Elliott. Love seeing him look like a starter. Sebastian Valdez, he's going to get, you can't put him on the practice squad. Someone's going to pick him up. He put too much on film in the preseason. And CJ West, I think, played like a starter early in preseason. Maybe Joe is right, though. They'll lean on Kalia Davis as that starter. But I think Kalia Davis, as Daniel mentions here in the chat, is probably going to make the roster at defensive tackle. I mean, how many defensive tackles do they keep is the big question. Last year, they took 4, and usually you don't take more than 4 guys at defensive tackle. So you got Elliott, West. You're not going to cut Collins, even though you think he's not ready to start. And that leaves only one more spot for Kalia Davis or Sebastian Valdez. Do they keep 5 defensive tackles, or do they cut Valdez, or do they cut Davis? I would cut Davis before I cut Valdez. That's just me.
Yeah. And there's other spots as well that make it more difficult to be able to kind of play with those numbers a little bit. Let's say it's like, all right, let's try to keep 5. Okay, where do you let guy go? And you have receivers who will be coming back. I don't think you want to end one of these young receivers' seasons right now, right? Like Jacob Cowing. I can't see them saying, all right, your season's done. We're just going to put you on IR. You're on ice. You missed a lot. Your rookie year, you're going to miss a lot your second year. I think he's a guy that they want him to eventually come back and contribute. So if you are going to do that, he's going to have to initially take up a roster space or a roster spot. So I think it is going to be a little bit challenging for the 49ers to be able to mess around with how they keep certain guys, and definitely going to have to be creative when it comes to the defensive line. But I bet they figure out a way to keep 5 of those guys. and maybe initially they only have 4 cornerbacks, but then 2 of the guys maybe they bring back, a Chase Lucas who to their active roster, but they feel like if we let Chase Lucas go now, we may be able to keep him, keep him close. Like, hey, don't go sign with anyone else. We're going to sign you right back. You have a little handshake deal done for him, so you can keep one of these injured guys around.
I think there's a couple of spots on the offensive side of the ball that they can utilize lower numbers when the final 53 comes out. Call it the final 53, more like the initial 53. When the initial 53 drops, I think they can save some numbers on offense to keep more guys on defense to help out this situation. Let's talk about those players, Croc, next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers brought to you by Rugiet. You guys have heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them, but if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Ready. Rugiet Ready is a next-gen prescription treatment designed to amplify arousal in the brain and boost blood flow. Unlike the usual pill, that can take hours, Rugiet's 3-in-1 formula dissolves under your tongue, kicks in fast, on average in 15 minutes. Effects can last up to 36 hours, so you can stay confident and in control when the moment is right. Head over to Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL to get 15% off today. That's Rugiet.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for 15% off. Individual results may vary with prescription treatment. Compounded drugs are permitted to be prescribed under federal law, but not FDA approved, and do not undergo FDA safety, effectiveness, or manufacturing review. Please visit the Rugiet website for full safety information. Today's episode is also brought to you by FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. It's that new holiday. It's coming up soon, August 26th, officially FanDuel Futures Day, a brand new holiday for football fans who live for bold predictions and preseason hunches. For just 24 hours, August 26th, FanDuel is giving you deals on NFL season predictions. So whether you're calling your MVP, maybe you're eyeing a long shot division winner, maybe you're ready to crown your Super Bowl champ for week 1, and even before the season kicks off, this is your moment. Brock Purdy, MVP. Now's your chance. Get in on it during the FanDuel Futures Day. All you got to do is visit the FanDuel app today and start planning your futures bet now. You got parlay. You can parlay your division winner, dark horses, division champions. There are so many futures and 2025 NFL bets to be had right now already at FanDuel. And Futures Day, August 26th. Futures Day is only one day and one day only. FanDuel, play your game.
We got a comment about Chase Lucas. And I think he's one of the guys that's definitely a riser. Again, big benefit for him is he's a guy that was on the 49ers practice squad last season. So he was around the entire year. This isn't just a random journeyman free agent who happened to just come to the 49ers and have a strong training camp / preseason. He's been there. And then he follows up being here with coming out and just playing well, making plays, getting interceptions, running routes for guys, high energy type guys, pass deflections down the field. I talked about having a handshake deal in place for him. So I was like, look, no, we're going to give you your money. Like, we're going to pay you. We're just going to let you go so we can figure something else out with some of these other spots. Or maybe you don't do it with him because you're like, no, you just played so well for us, and we can count on you. We're talking about finding that third corner. And by the way, Renardo Green played in this preseason game. It was good to see number 0 out there. But, man, Chase Lucas, he's done very well. Is he the 49ers' third corner behind Diamador Lenore and third outside corner? Then you got Womack. Now your secondary, as far as the cornerbacks go, the cornerback room is starting to really take shape.
Especially with Upton Stout hurt, there's an opportunity that you might need Chase Lucas to start for you at nickel in week number 1. I think Chase Lucas's stock is up. He's had a phenomenal preseason and is proven worthy of being on an NFL roster. Can play some special teams for you. Can play a couple spots on defense, but that nickel spot too with Upton Stout, who I think will be the starter if he's healthy. And it's looking like Upton Stout's supposed to be back this week. Michael Williams and Upton Stout, they're hoping on Monday we'll get good news there at practice and be on the field for the 49ers this last week leading up to week number 1. But I think a key backup now, especially with, and Deommodore Lenoir hasn't practiced in the nickel. That's the other thing. It's like, oh, well, Lenoir can be the backup kind of extra nickel guy. Well, they haven't played him there because he's been outside all off season long. Not that he couldn't jump in and do that, but it's probably not an ideal situation to have a guy just jump in and play a spot he doesn't practice all off season long, because they've been trying to keep him outside since they drafted Upton Stout and had some other guys. Trey Brown was one of those nickel guys. He's on IR to end the season. So Chase Lucas, man, I think he has to make the 53-man roster, and I agree with the chat. He'll get signed up somewhere else before 49ers try to get sneaky and not keep him on the final 53. I think there's a stock up for Tanner.
Oh, wait, real quick. That's stock up for Chase Lucas.
Yeah. Oh, it's a stock up for, this last preseason game, I don't know if he did anything crazy, but he did a ton in the first 2 preseason games. And he's an NFL player. He's an NFL roster guy. I think he's proven this preseason. So for sure, stock up for Chase Lucas. Here's an interesting one. Tanner Mordecai, the 49ers have cut him like 3 times this offseason. They brought in a couple guys. They brought in Carter Bradley, which is really weird. And Tanner Mordecai looked like the better quarterback. They both hurt their ankles at some point in this final preseason game. I think Tanner Mordecai did enough to prove that he deserves to be the practice squad quarterback, because Croc, I don't think they're going to keep more than 2 quarterbacks on this 53-man roster. I think it's one place where last year they kept 3. They usually try to keep 3 quarterbacks. I think this is a year with Mac Jones and Brock Purdy. You keep 2 quarterbacks, and you feel pretty confident that either Carter Bradley or Tanner Mordecai is going to be there for you on the practice squad, and then you can save yourself an extra roster spot to keep maybe one of those extra defensive tackles. And by the way, we talked about 4 versus 5 defensive tackles, Croc. If you count Givens, who has to make the roster first and be part of the 53 to be put on IR to return, now you're talking about 6 defensive tackles too. So the 49ers might need some numbers at some spots. And I think they can save at least one of those spots by keeping only 2 quarterbacks. But Mordecai might have reminded the 49ers, look, this is why I was here last year. Maybe I deserve to be the guy who's on the practice squad as that emergency QB3 in situations this year.
Well, here's another spot where they can save a player right now. Like Yosu in the chat says, Deommodore Lenoir, Ronaldo Green, Stout, Lucas, and Flowers. Those 5 cornerbacks make the roster. That's it. So if you only keep 5, not 6, I think that helps. Now, one of the things that they were able to do in the past, let's say Kyle Shanahan's first year as a head coach for the 49ers, they had a guy by the name of Dante Johnson. Dante Johnson was like such a utility player that you could keep 5 49er cornerbacks and him be one of the 5 because he also played safety and nickel. So are there any of these guys who give you more versatility? I'd say there's been a lot of cross-training for not just Deommodore Lenoir, who clearly has played in nickel, but Ronaldo Green. They played him a lot in the nickel to start last year in preseason and whatnot. He got nickel action. Up to Stout clearly playing there. So you got a little bit more versatility, but you're going to need that if you're only going to keep 5 cornerbacks on your roster.
But here's the things. I don't think they keep 5. I think either Dallas Flowers or one of my stock up guys, Croc, Darrell Luter had one of the best games we've seen from him, I think, as a 49er in that final preseason game. Not only coverage, but he was hitting guys. He looked like he knew that the clock was ticking for him and he needed to play with some urgency. And man, I was impressed with Darrell Luter. I thought he did play with some urgency. I think the 49ers are probably going to keep 6 DBs. The question now is it Darrell Luter or is it Dallas Flowers? Flowers has shown the ability to return kicks as well. Do they need him to return kicks? Because I do think that Junior Bergen's not going to make the roster, and it's probably going to be Sky Moore as the primary punt returner. So does Dallas Flowers make the roster? But man, Darrell Luter reminded him, hey, this is why he drafted me. And he put enough film out there that a team might snatch him up if they try to sneak him to the practice squad. I think they keep 6 corners. Darrell Luter might be that 6th. It's Luter or Flowers. They got to keep one extra guy, I think, there. Yeah,
well, you talked about Junior Bergen, and I don't know, the muffed punt
Yeah.
return yesterday. I don't think he did enough initially, and then you compound it with a mistake like that.
Yeah.
I think we got to go stock down on Junior Burgeon, and they likely will be looking for another returner. Now you do have Sky Moore, who you just traded for, and that's a guy who clearly has return value. So Junior Burgeon, I think he might be on his way out, but maybe a guy like Flowers kind of just helps as an insurance if you do need a returner alongside a guy like Sky Moore.
Man, I got to stock up for just the entire linebacker group, Croc, because it was one of the big questions. Remember, before camp, it was like, okay, big camp battle. It's the third rounder Martin versus the third-year player in D. Winters at linebacker. And then beyond that, like, what kind of depth do the 49ers have? You're losing Dre Greenlaw. You're losing Demetrius Flanagan Fowles. Like, what is the 49ers linebacker group going to look like? And, man, I've been impressed by so many guys. Martin has gotten better in every preseason game. He looked really good out there. And I think if he'd have looked like that in preseason game number 1, we might have had a different conversation versus him and D. Winters. I think D. Winters is pretty locked in as that starting will linebacker. But, man, seeing Nick Martin play these last couple preseason games, taking some big strides, it's really fun to see. He plays fast. He plays violent, just like the 49ers want from their linebackers. Curtis Robinson, good to see him back from his ACL injury with the pick 6. The 49ers love him. He's been there. The Walter Payton Man of the Year candidate since Eric Armstead has been gone. He's a really good special teams player as well. Tatum Bethune has looked awesome at middle linebacker. I think taking a leap from even last year when you weren't sure if he's going to make the team. Made the team look pretty good. He's looked even better this year. I think you saw flashes from Chaz Surratt. I think you saw flashes from Luke Gifford. I think you saw flashes from Graham. A number of 49ers linebackers have looked good to make you really feel much better about the depth versus 3 weeks ago at linebacker. So stock up for, I think, just the entire linebacker group next to Fred Warner. You feel a lot better about the depth, a lot better about who's going to be starting next to Fred Warner and who might have to fill in during the season.
Definitely, man. And just the speed of Nick Martin just keeps showing up. So, you watch guys like D. Winters and how he flies around, and then Nick Martin throughout the preseason. And obviously there were some missed tackles, but I think as he continues to gauge the speed of the NFL and his own speed and how to, be able to come to these tackles and be a little bit more under control, I think he's going to be really big for the 49ers.
More stock up, stock down from the 49ers preseason next. Today's episode of Locked On 49ers presented by Yahoo Fantasy. NFL season right around the corner, and you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. A lot of drafts happening. I got a couple of drafts coming up this week. Everyone's researching, drafting, building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing fantasy football on Yahoo. I got a guillotine league. I got my standard league I've been playing with Wink for a decade now. And you should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran, creating your millionth league with the season kickoff on September 4th, Thursday. Niners playing a couple days later on Sunday against the Seahawks in week 1. Now's the time to start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football. And there's more ways to play, tons of ways to play. There's the new guillotine leagues, tons of new additions to fantasy football throughout the month of August to celebrate 28 years on Yahoo Fantasy. There's a new draft with friends mode. And if you prefer the classics, get your crew together, go head-to-head in a private league. You can also join a public league and not know anybody. You can jump in right now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl and join a public league. The NFL season kicks off September 4th, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. That's yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. So the Niners hit on 2 undrafted free agents, in my opinion, Croc. We talked about Sebastian Valdez as the defensive tackle. I think he'll get snatched up. Last year, the 49ers lost not an undrafted free agent, but 6th-round draft pick Kingston, the offensive lineman. He had a nice preseason, and kind of shockingly to a lot of people, the Niners only took 8 offensive linemen on the 53, and they waived Kingston, tried to get him through waivers. He got picked up by the Carolina Panthers, had another nice preseason for the Panthers this year. And I think Drew Moss is that guy this year for the 49ers, where if they try to sneak him out there, he's going to get snatched up because the league needs offensive linemen, and his tape was too good this preseason, particularly in this last preseason game. And in fact, Croc, I'll go as far as to say he was the best of all the reserve offensive linemen on the San Francisco 49ers, better than the entirety of the second unit of the 49ers, because he played behind Connor Colby, the 7th rounder, behind Hennessy, behind Zakel. He's better than all of them, Croc. He's got to make the football team. It's a mistake if they let him go through waivers. Drew Moss, congratulations. You made the 53. You and Sebastian Valdez, Hulk, as they call him. I think you guys got lockers. That's my opinion. Mistake if the 49ers cut either one of those guys.
Yeah, man. And the second unit for the offensive line just was not playing very well.
No.
So to have a guy like Moss really just step up and show consistency week in and week out, at least throughout the preseason games. Now, the big thing that we don't know about, and I think they would put more stock in the games than they did for practice, but, what did it look like during practice? Were there mental mistakes? And then was he a guy that just kind of just showed up on game day and then just played well? So I would love to be a fly on the wall and hear what that conversation sounds like. But from everything that we've seen from him, he seems like a guy that was very, very consistent really throughout all of preseason in those games. And that is, you talked about the 49ers hitting on 2 undrafted free agents, man. Like, that's huge. And we talk a lot about the draft picks and wanting, 5 starters or 6 starters and whatnot. If you can get 2 guys, especially in the trenches, from being undrafted to making your squad and then potentially working your way into some type of role, oh, that's huge. That's huge for the Niners.
Croc, we always talk about how Locked On 49ers is global, and we'll have fans checking in from, Brazil and Australia and the UK and Mexico and Canada and, everywhere in the world. This is a first that I haven't seen. Axe jumping in the chat says, only Niner fan in Texas prison. Pray for me. So, dude, I didn't know we were streaming in Texas prison. So shout out Axe, man. Hope we can get you through your time there. That's a new one there. We are global here, Croc, and Locked On 49ers.
Locked On 49ers does not discriminate. We'll take every view we can get.
It's not Locked Up 49ers. It's Locked On 49ers. All right, let's. I don't know.
Hey, we do have a question right here. Here we go. Winston in the chat says, do players get money for signing a contract to attend training camp, or do they only get paid if they make the team? Yes, you do get paid for attending training camp. Way back in 2013, you get paid for the offseason and so all of OTAs and everything, you get paid a certain stipend. 2013, it was $1,200. And then once we reported for training camp, it was $1,600. That's for the and both of those stipends are for, that was for a rookie. Veterans, it was more. So I think for a rookie at that time, $1,600 a week. For a vet, it was more like $2,800, something kind of doubled or close to double or something like that. If I had to guess now, it's probably closer to $4,000 with inflation. So I'm assuming that it's significantly more than when I was playing.
But you still want that game check, right, Croc?
You want the game check. Now listen, there's a lot of guys, they're banking on that game check.
Yeah.
A stipend check like that for a lot of these guys is kind of just pocket cash.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to your actual games, and they've changed things up a little bit as well, to where I think you could defer your money throughout the year as opposed to just getting it for every game that you play during the regular season. But let's say a guy like Brock Purdy, who's making $53 million a year, you would divide 53 by 17 games, and that's what he would make weekly. So that little stipend of $4,000 or whatever it might be right now, he's probably not too worried about that. But guys on the bubble, they definitely are.
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. We got to talk about a few more stock up, stock down guys. I think that's everybody on my stock up list right now. Oh, Travis Gibson too. I don't know if Travis Gibson's going to make the team. I think he can be a practice squad guy for the 49ers, but man, he's been one of the few players that consistently got some pressure in the passing game on the 49ers defensive line. I know we haven't seen a lot of Bosa. We haven't seen a lot of guys. Michael Williams hasn't been out there in those preseason games with his hyperextended knee, but man, Travis Gibson's been out there putting some stuff on tape. And if not the Niners, he showed the league, like, looks, I can be on somebody's roster. And if he doesn't make the 53, for sure belongs on the 49ers practice squad. But at this point, I don't know if he can't make the 53 because of the need that the 49ers have for someone who can rush the passer. On my stock down list, Croc, we talked about some of the linemen because, to go along with Valdez impressing, you have Collins, who has been disappointing to me as a second-round pick, top 50 guy. You want to see more from him. Slow off the line, not playing with leverage. He's not ready right now. If he's going to be ready, it's not a death knell for him, but he's not ready yet. But guys who have been around and played a few years, like Matt Hennessy at center, Nick Zakelj, those are the reasons why I'm like, man, you cannot keep those guys and cut Drew Moss. And even Connor Colby, the 7th-round pick, Drew Moss outplayed him as well. So if you're cutting Drew Moss to keep those guys, I think you're doing it wrong. Now, you got to keep either Hennessy or Zakelj because you need a backup center, and I would get that. I think Moss has played some center. He played right guard and left guard in the last preseason game. Zakelj was playing left guard to start and then moved in and played some center. Hennessy played center in this game, has played some guard as well in camp left guard as well in camp for the 49ers. But man, I can see why the Falcons kind of soured on Hennessy, and he was available to the 49ers. Zakel's never really impressed me. And, I would be willing to gamble that one of those offensive linemen is available before you have to cut down to sign back if you want to, or bring on the practice squad and not cut Moss. That's where I'm at, just because that second unit has not looked great. And we talked about Cowing. He's on my stock down just because of the injury. We never got to see him in the summer. Like, he could have been the biggest stock up guy, and now it's just like, I don't know what to think about him. He's going to go on IR for 6 weeks. And then you have Isaac Guerrero, who's a stock down, not so much of his play, but he keeps getting injured. He had the shoulder injury, Croc, comes back, then injures the same shoulder, was able to come back in the game. But Kyle Shanahan after the game was like, we traded for Brian Robinson to be our running back too. So at best, Guerrero lost spots on the roster, even though he probably didn't lose his spot on the 53. Now he's at best number 3 running back for the 49ers. And
I'm not sure that the 3 fumbles in one practice helped him either.
Yep.
Didn't help his case. Let's go. Ishang in the chat, and he says, Sky Moore stock down, already showing why Kansas City did not miss him with that drop. Not just the drop. And there was, if you're talking about the one where he dove for the ball, tough one. I won't, like,
you want him to catch it, but
you want him to catch up. I won't be super difficult on it or super hard on him for that. I'm more disappointed with the opportunity like prior to that, where you're running a slant, it's 3rd down, they need you to win your rep, and he just got strapped. I mean, just strapped, 0 separation. Elementary stuff, man. You got to work outside frame of the defensive back, and then, to get him to open up or get him moving up, feel a little bit, come back underneath, and, be able to win clean. And you watch guys like, Brandon Ayuk. Now, again, I'm not saying he's Brandon Ayuk, but Brandon Ayuk does a terrific job of moving defensive backs at the line of scrimmage. You have to do some of that. And Sky Moore had a chance. Again, he knew, still learning the offense. All right, I understand that aspect of it. But you've been running slants for many, many years, and I would like to see you just be able to sell if you can't just move him off the line of scrimmage, at least seal the vert a little bit more if the guy is hard inside shade like that. And he didn't quite do that. So he looked very pedestrian, may I say?
I mean, you can see why Kansas City was ready to let him go, and he only had 500 receiving yards in 3 years after being a 2nd-round pick. Drops, a big thing that dogged him with the Kansas City Chiefs. Chiefs fans will tell you that the drops is the one that hurts them, and I think that kind of thing will affect fans more than even not being able to run the routes, being in the right spot. When the fans see drops, they will turn on you very quickly, and that was one of the things that happened with Sky Moore in KC. But just being a punt returner, I think it's either him or Bergen that has to make the team, and so I think Sky Moore makes the team and is on the field for the 49ers in week 1. So that's why it's not a big stock down for me after being here for a couple of days. Robbie Chosen looked good. I think it's another position, though, Croc, that the 49ers can save a roster spot, because I think they could probably sign Robbie Chosen after he doesn't make the initial 53. But at the same time, the 49ers need like a starting wide receiver next to Ricky Pearsall in week 1. And so they might look at this thing and say, well, Russell Gage, Robbie Chosen, one of these guys has to make the team because Juwan Jennings at cutdown day is not ready to prove to us that he's going to be healthy to start in week 1. And when you have a starting wide receiver, who's that player for you? Who starts next to Ricky Pearsall if Juwan Jennings is not ready?
Robbie Chosen, his guy. I mean, gosh. Yeah, no, the 49ers, they're in a tough spot there. And not just there. There's some other decisions they have to make. And I think one big one is Jake Moody. And they're putting all their eggs in one basket with him. And they let go of the kicker that was competing with him in training camp and early in training camp. They made that move. But I just don't trust Jake Moody. I don't trust Jake Moody. And I think when it comes to kickers, you would like to feel a lot more confident in your kicker than how I currently feel about Moody. This isn't a guy that I think lacks ability, but I just don't know what to expect from him from kick to kick. I'm literally holding my breath, or I don't even want to say hold my breath. I'm just, does he make it? Like, that's just the question every time he goes back to kick. And in the previous kick preseason game, he was awesome. And, obviously missed one, but man, banged through some other ones and kicked a 59-yarder. But golly, it comes right back and he's just so inconsistent. I can't trust him. And you really want to be able to trust your kicker. I can't even trust him with an extra point.
You can't trust him right now. So you just hold your breath when he lines up. It's not ideal. I don't know if there's someone better out there for the 49ers. They've got a lot invested in Jake Moody. Kudos to the CBS camera crew who caught Kyle Shanahan on the sideline after Moody kicked the kickoff out of bounds. I think ticked off Kyle Shanahan more than anything. And he's got the side eye looking over
Boyer too. Boyer was furious. Right by him. Didn't even acknowledge him.
So I think here's the thing. Stock up Jake Moody for understanding the situation and not being static so that Boyer could come get him. Moody got on the move and walked past Boyer. So there was Boyer would have had to stop Moody's motion on the sideline, and Boyer went right by him. So I think that was huge on Moody's part to not have the Boyer confrontation by just sitting there and doing nothing. He stayed on the move. So some veteran savvy from Jake Moody on the sideline there, knowing that the coaches were eyeballing him hard. No confidence, though, on the field. Off the field, Jake Moody, awesome on the sideline, maneuvering around there. But when he lines up for a kick, what are you going to do? He's gone from a 3-step kick to a 2-step kick. I don't know, try a 4-step kick. What do you do? You just hope. That's it. That's where the Niners are with their kicking game. You just hope.
You just hope.
A lot of good, a lot of bad. Who are your stock ups, stock downs? Let us know. Cut down day is approaching. Of course, we will have it covered for you right here as we do on Locked On 49ers. At BD Peacock, at Coach Crocky. Let us know in the YouTube comments. Subscribe while you're there. And Croc and I back tomorrow. A ton of news coming Monday, no doubt. Right here, Locked On 49ers.